Welcome to Storytime with Tululi. Today's reading comes from r/RelationshipAdvice. Our first story is titled, My Son and His Friend Are a Couple. How do I let them know it's okay? My boy is 20 years old. He's absolutely my pride and joy, and there's nothing he could do that would ever make me love him less. For the first half of his life, I regrettably wasn't involved very much. His mother and I parted ways when he was just a few months old, and at the time I was struggling with a heroin addiction and was absolutely not as present in his life as I should have been, nor was I suited to fatherhood at all. I saw him at most 2 to 3 times a year for the first 12 years of his life. I won't discuss details because that's his private story to tell. But when he was 12, he revealed to me that he was being badly mistreated at the hands of his mother and her boyfriend. Despite not being the best father at the time, I didn't want my boy suffering anymore, so I got myself cleaned up and sorted out in order to get full custody of him. I've effectively been a single and sober father ever since, and he has little to no contact with his mother. He's everything a man could want his son to be. He's uniquely kind and fiercely loyal. He's unflinchingly brave, he's incredibly generous, and despite the horrors he suffered as a child, he's unfailingly positive and sunny to the last. Somehow, I, of all people, was bestowed with the honor of watching him grow from a sweet young boy to the greatest man I've ever known. I cannot stress enough my pride in him. When he was 18, he got accepted into a top-ranking university on the other side of the country. I was sad to see him go, but simultaneously overjoyed that he got into his first choice and was starting a new chapter in his life. He comes home once every other month, and on the months he doesn't come home, I go to visit him. He's doing well in uni, has made lots of friends, and seems incredibly happy there, which I'm obviously chuffed about. Since his second year, he's lived with his friend in a flat off campus. I've strongly suspected since his early teens that my son is gay, and I now more or less have confirmation that this is true and that his friend is actually his boyfriend. So, for this COVID-19 stuff, my son decided he'd rather come home and quarantine at mine than stay at his uni flat. His friend, however, would be left alone if my son came back, as he's a Canadian and his family are back over there. And I gather he doesn't have the best relationship with them anyway. He asked if it would be okay if friend tagged along to my house, and I said of course, no problem. They've been back at mine for about 6 weeks now. They think they're being subtle, I know, but I've caught them doing coupley things on several occasions now. The friend has slipped up a couple times and called my son babe and sweetie in front of me, which I pretended not to notice for the sake of saving embarrassment. There have been nights where we'll be watching a film with the lights off and thinking I can't see, my son will have his arm around the friend. One day I walked into the lounge and I'm positive they'd just been kissing and were trying to cover it, though I admit I have no confirmation on that one. The most solid evidence, however, came a few mornings ago. I get up very early to go for runs in the morning, hence why I'm making a Reddit post at 5 in the morning, haha. As far as I was told, my son was sleeping in his childhood room and his friend was in the guest room. I don't know what possessed me to do so, but on Tuesday morning I cracked my son's door open to check on him like I used to when he was a kid. Lo and behold, they're both asleep, snuggled up together in my son's bed. That's more or less solidified for me that they're together. I didn't say anything, just shut the door and went for my run, and I haven't mentioned it to them yet. What I want advice on is this. How do I let my son and his boyfriend know that I'm okay with them being a couple and they don't have to feel like they have to sneak around in my house? I want them to be comfortable here and I want them to know I support them both no matter what. Or is this not a good idea? Am I better off leaving it alone and waiting until they tell me themselves, if they ever do? I obviously don't want to force either of them out of the closet, but at the same time I hate feeling as if they feel like they're being forced into the closet in my house. What's the best course of action? Well, I think it's great that you're accepting of your child and that you still support them. That's a fantastic thing to hear. I personally think that if they're doing those types of things in your house, then they're kind of okay with being outed because they're not trying to hide it very well. And I think it's totally okay for you to just say, hey, I saw you, I think it's okay, and I don't want you to feel like I feel any differently about you and I still love you as my child. I think it's okay. I mean, that's just my personal take on it. Let me know in the comments what you think. Our next story is titled, My, a 25-year-old male, girlfriend, who is a 24-year-old female, did not appreciate my reaction to seeing her naked. There is currently this trend on TikTok app of girls surprising their man by walking into the room naked and filming their reaction. I've seen these videos before, and normally the reaction is the man gets a smile on his face and they obviously get it on. It's cheesy, romantic, funny, whatever. My girlfriend is working from home during the pandemic and I work in the hospital. I got home from a 12-hour shift of potentially being exposed to COVID-19 and just wanted some beers and to go to bed. I guess my girlfriend thought she would get the same reaction when I walked in the door and saw her naked. I barely had enough energy left to give any reaction, let alone a good one. I basically just told her I appreciated the gesture, but I was exhausted. She got moody at me, basically comparing all these other TikToks where the man gets excited to see their girl naked. I told her all these TikToks have men working from home, not walking in the door after a 12-hour shift in a hospital during a pandemic. She then took this as an insult at the fact that she's currently working from home, when this wasn't my intention at all. Since this happened a couple days ago, she's acting like I don't find her sexy at all and giving my sarcastic answers. What do I even say to her? I think she's being a little moody, and I don't think that's very reasonable of her to act that way, especially when you are working. And you clearly, from the story, didn't say anything bad about her working from home. I don't know the context of the full thing, but from the story, it sounds like she's completely wrong and overreacting. And it could just be the pandemic. Everyone's locked down, and people are starting to go crazy because now it's been weeks since they've been locked in. Our next story is titled, "Boyfriend keeps trying to upgrade or improve me by calling me chubby." I, a female of 23 years old, been dating my boyfriend, who's a male that's 27, for a year. I'm 5'4" and 125 pounds. He pursued me. Slowly, he keeps making more and more negative comments about my appearance. He made me a workout and eating plan and constantly asks if I follow it. He basically wants me to go vegan. Honestly, I'm not into the vegan lifestyle and I don't eat horrible. When we order in yesterday, I got baked ziti. He looked at me and said, "How could I be ordering this when we both agreed I need to lose weight?" Every time I try to dump him over this, he tells me I don't understand where he is coming from. He told me I'm average and he wants me to stand out. That he noticed I have low self-esteem and he is trying to make me confident and be happy with myself. Every day he asks me if I did my workouts. He will send me photos of other girls and say if I follow what he says, I will look like that. He really pursued me, and now I feel like he's killing my self-esteem. Why pursue someone so hard if you aren't that attracted to them? He told me if I lose 15 pounds, I'll be perfect. He sends me pictures of women who have post-pregnancy bodies or not good bodies at all, and he tells me that they are like me, that they are chubby and not curvy. Or he will send me pictures of girls I don't consider pretty and say if I listen to him, I will look like that. I just need to lose weight. I tell him I think I'm thinner than those girls and he tells me that he has better eyes. Honestly, at this point, I don't want to break up because I feel no one will find me attractive. I feel like I want his approval. I've been wearing baggy clothes because I'm so ashamed of my body. I used to like my body, but now I'm ashamed. Why is he dating me if I'm so unattractive? How do I gain my self-esteem back? Why pursue me? Edit. I would like to thank everyone for the overwhelming response. I can't get back to everyone, but I appreciate each and every message. Honestly, I didn't realize my situation was that bad. I'm going to assume he had me under control. This really was reassuring, and I'm so happy I found this community and made this thread. I broke up with him over text message and explained to him how you talk and treat me is not how you talk to anyone, let alone your girlfriend, who you are supposed to love. That I hope he changes for the next girl he dates because he's a miserable person and no one deserves his abuse. I blocked his number. I'm sure he might try to show up at my house, but I just felt that need to end it as soon as possible. I think I'm going to take some time for myself since my self-esteem is still in the gutter, but thank you all. Hearts. I think you did the right thing. That sounds like a very toxic relationship and people shouldn't treat you that way. If you both agreed to work on your self-image and self-esteem and get healthy and do all that stuff, that makes sense. But sending you pictures of people and constantly talking down to you and making you feel bad and hurting your self-esteem, especially when you're trying to feel better, that's not acceptable. Our next story is titled, I, a 29-year-old female, tried to surprise my husband, a 28-year-old male, and all he just said, gross. My husband and I have been having a bit of a dry spell over the last 2 weeks, which started when I wasn't in the mood for a few days in a row, and he was, and seems to have spiraled from there. Tonight, since we're stuck at home, I figured I would try and surprise him when he got off work. I put on some lingerie and waited on the sofa around when he usually finishes his last conference call. I got a little overexcited early and was touching myself a little bit, and he came out of his office. He looked at me, seemed disgusted, and immediately goes, "Ugh, gross. Do that in the bedroom or something," and walks away. I mean, I was trying to do something fun and spontaneous, and he says gross? I don't even know how to respond to that. We haven't talked since that, and I've just been stewing on that. I think I've gotten a little bit too much in my own head about this because my best plan right now seems like to electrocute him. Joking for any that can't tell. But I mean, what kind of response is gross? Who says that? I need an outside perspective. How would you respond? Update. Well, we had an apparently much needed conversation, and much of what was said was true, although he is neither gay nor cheating on me, and I have not gained weight, and nobody will be receiving any pictures of me. He said that he's sorry for calling it gross, but he feels like he's always the one initiating, and I'm always the one saying no. And whenever I do initiate, I don't put in as much effort as him. That the fact when he just stopped trying after the first couple of days, I said no, that it took 2 weeks for anything to happen only proved it to him. His first thought when he saw me was that I didn't want to be interrupted, and his second was that after 2 weeks with nothing, I didn't even bother to ask or set a mood. And that's apparently what culminated into the gross comment. So we agreed that I would try to woo him a bit more and make him feel more wanted. And he wouldn't take it to heart if I happened to say no for a few days in a row. Well, I'm glad you both worked it out and you came to an understanding and realized what each other was feeling. I think communication is key here, and I'm glad that you were able to get through it. Our next story is titled, My Ex-Boyfriend, a 23-year-old male, wants to get back together after I, a 21-year-old female, raised my baby. When I told him I was pregnant when I was 17, he told me to get an abortion or he'd break up with me. I chose my baby and he abandoned us. I didn't have my family's support initially. My parents hated me. I was practically homeless and he wouldn't let me stay with him just until I could find somewhere to go. Then my parents wanted me to come home, so I went back. When I was pregnant, I texted my ex and asked him if he wanted to see a picture from an ultrasound or if he wanted to know the sex and said, F off, do not contact me again, you dumb B. I took a screenshot and looked at it whenever I missed him or felt like it'd be easier with him. I gave birth and didn't contact him. I moved to a different state with my family as well. I don't need him or anyone except for my family. They sacrificed a lot to help me raise my baby. My younger sister, mom, and I are all my baby's mamas, and her grandpa loves her so much. She has all of our love and she's the smartest child I've ever known. She asked about her dad one time and I said that he went away and she never asked about him again. She doesn't need nor does want anyone else. My daughter is almost 4 years old now, and I guess now he decided to be a father, and he commented a million times on every one of my Instagram pictures of her, "This is my daughter, she's beautiful, she has my eyes, I love her so much." As if he even knows her. He DM'd me and said he wants to get back together, and he just was a scared kid, but he wants his daughter and he made her. I was a scared kid too, but I did the right thing, and I made her. She grew inside of my body. He threatened he'll get custody of her and she's his, and I can't deprive a man the right to know his child. I don't want to be with him. He left us. I raised her without him, and he can't just come in and take her. I told him that he had a chance and he left, and he can't just come years later when he feels like being a dad. He said because he makes more money than me, the court is going to give her to him because he can provide for her better than I can. We live modestly, but I give her everything she needs. I'm really scared now. She's my baby, and he didn't even want her. Can he really do this? I don't want to lose her, and the idea of him wanting to meet her gives me anxiety. He left, and he treated me like poop. He literally turned me away when I was pregnant and had nowhere to go. He wanted me to have an abortion. He cursed at me when I asked if he wanted to know the sex. He doesn't deserve to see her. Well, from the context, I think he's going about it wrong by threatening you. That's not cool. But if she's 4 years old now, you were 17, and then that would make him 19 at the time, then I think both of you were probably at an age where I think it's understandable for a 19-year-old to be, I think you handled it in a very mature way, and I think he handled it like a normal 19-year-old in a very dumb way. But I think if a person wants to try and come back into the life of their child, that they should be given that opportunity. I know you feel like you did everything and you did and you deserve everything, and I don't think that he has the right to come in your life, threaten you, try and take custody. That is completely unacceptable. But I think, if a father wants to come back in their life, if they've proven it and that they're responsible and they're trying to actually be involved now, I don't know if you have to get back together, but I do think that the child should be able to see their biological parent if they're wanting to do that. Anyways, I hope it works out and you're able to figure it out. And yes, I hope maybe there's an update later that'll come with this story. Anyways, thank you all for tuning in. That's the end of today. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please leave a like. And if you like these types of videos, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that bell for notifications. If you'd like to join the Discord, the link's in the description below. We have an awesome community there. And also feel free to follow me on any of my other social media accounts. Those links are also in the description below. Thank you for your continued support, and hopefully you all are being safe out there in these crazy times. With that being said, we'll see you next time.